All right. It has been probably like 3 years since I played Dark Souls 2. I was recently talking about the games with a friend and talking about how much I love the stories. And even though Dark Souls 2 isn't great, it still has a good story and it's interesting and it says its piece about, like, the idea of cycles and the themes of the Dark Souls games. And then when my friend was talking to me about the lore of Dark Souls 2, I realized that I really didn't remember it that well. And this is coming from someone who played the heck out of all three games and like spent a long time, researching the lore, reading up on the lore, and doing my own theory crafting and participating in the community. Um, and in fact, I probably spent more time outside of the game thinking about it than I actually did playing the actual game because it was a garbage fire. And I know there's some Dark Souls 2 apologists out there that are like, it gets a bad rap. I I I don't know. I just don't remember having a good time playing through the original game or Scholar of the First Sin. But hey, that's just me. So what I thought I'd do here is just do my best to retell the events of Drang Lake and the story, despite the fact that I haven't done any research and I don't really remember anything except for some massive key details. But my brain is pretty good at filling in facts, so let's see if it gets them right. I think the best place to start in retelling the story of Dark Souls 2 is the foundations of Drang Lake Castle. Basically, Vendrick, who's this real tall dude, who I'm pretty sure is a human, but he's very tall for a human, goes and he settles this kingdom. And he names it Drang Lake, and he builds Drang Lake up on the ruins of another kingdom. There's all sorts of like little bits and bobs of information about that old kingdom. Like for some reason, the old kingdom has the Lord vessel underneath it, and also I think Gwyn's daughter might have moved there at some point. But regardless, that kingdom crumbled, and Drang Lake not crumbled. It's on top of it, and so Vendrick rules this kingdom for a while, and it's going all right. Until eventually this girl, oh God, what is her name? Nishandra shows up. She's also very tall. And she basically is like, dude, Vendrick, you are hot. Let's get married. And no, wait, they're not married yet. No, she's like, Vendrick, there's these giants and they want to kill you because they think you're going to end the world. And Vendrick's like, I'll end their world. And for whatever reason, Vendrick like totally trusts this stranger, sails across the ocean blue in 1492 and kills a bunch of giants. He just straight up murders all these giants and then steals a bunch of their technology and then leaves. And he comes back to Drang Lake and is like, hey, look at all this cool stuff I found. Thanks for the intel, Nishandra. I forgot her name. And Nishandra's like, yeah, no, anytime, of course. Anyway, like, I'm super cool and stuff, so if you need anything, just let me know. And I think at this point, Vendrick's like, nah, yeah, you're really cool, and I appreciate you for that intel, so, like, we should totally get married. And then they do. And so they're, king and queen ruling over Drang Lake, and everything seems, like, totally kind of fine and everything. I think at this point, like, Vendrick's off with his brother, and they accidentally create the ancient dragon by putting a giant soul inside of bones, like dragon bones or like petrified bones. I think that was some lore that we figured out. And also they build a bunch of like gross monsters and like just let them loose in their kingdom for some reason, because I guess that's what you do when you're royal. And things are going fine for a little while until the world starts to get dark, and everyone's like, here we go again, undead curse coming in. People start getting branded with the dark sigil, and humans are becoming undead, and it's the same as in the first game, where if you're undead, you're functionally immortal. Every time you die, you'll come back to life. You'll just look a little bit more like beef tenderloin, and you'll also, in this game, you lose some HP instead of all of your HP. And yeah, I mean, like, that's like, no, wait, curse. Oh, shoot. Curse in the first game, cut your HP in half. In this game, you just lose HP every time you die. You also lose HP in Dark Souls 1. Well, Gotta leave it in, otherwise I would normally cut this out, but I'm just trying to remember things, and apparently I don't even remember Dark Souls 1, and I replayed that like 4 months ago. Anyway, so people are dying, they're losing their humanity, and they're becoming hollows, right? And so every time they die and come back to life, they're like losing their grip on reality, they're less sane, and they have less memories. And so like that kind of sucks. And Vendrick's like, oh man, what are we gonna do about this? And then, oh yeah, okay. So Vendrick's like, yeah, what are we gonna do about this? And the other lords in the area are like, I don't know. Why don't we just like mess with them and stuff? And so, and this is really messed up. And I think like, it's just really messed up. Anyway, they start rounding up the undead, and some of them they put in prison, Lost Bastille, which I guess wasn't lost at first. It was lost later when the undead took over. And then he took some of them and he threw them in. Where does the rotten live? It's the gutter. Is there a name for it? He just throws them in this pit, and the pit leads to the gutter. And basically, these undead just kind of like live in this trash pile. And they, for whatever reason, just build a little society down there. It's kind of cute. And then where else does he say? Oh, the Huntsman's Copse. This is the one that's just super messed up. If you ever read the book, The Most Dangerous Game, basically the Huntsman's Copse is that it's just a place for rich people to go murder people, like immortal peasants. It's like just all sorts of messed up. And there's the oh my god, the Nightmare Chariot, the Wagon of Doom. What is it called? the chariot that goes in circles, and it's just undead horses that run in circles forever, and they just constantly run over the same poor undead people over and over and over again. And it's just really messed up. Like that part of the game, not cool. It's not cool. Anyway, so they do all that to the undead, and they're like just totally just like sent off into no man's land. And Vendrick's like, man, like dodged a bullet there. Good thing we put all the innocent poor in these places, so that way we can, keep managing the land. And then the giants invade again, and so they invade and they try to like kill everybody, but they're fighting an undead army, so they lose. And a bunch of because so many of Vendrick's people die, they end up going hollow, and when they come back, they're crazy. And so like Vendrick's like, man, we really screwed up. So like I don't know what to do from here. And Nishandra is like, yo, I'm full of good ideas. What I recommend is you and I go down to the Kiln of the First Flame, and you sacrifice yourself to extend the world. And Vendrick doesn't buy it. Why does he say no? Maybe he's not trusting Nishandra anymore. Oh, that's right. Okay, so during the Giant War, Vendrick was like, I'm remembering so much of this now. Vendrick is like, yeah, dude, the Giants aren't that bad. Why did I go to war with them in the first place? I'm very, very sorry. But at that point, like most of them were dead, and it's not like he can control his hollowed army. And so like a lot of them ended up sailing home empty-handed, right? They were there to like reclaim their lost cultural items, and Vendrick, probably used whatever they wanted, and so he couldn't even give it back to them. And so he's like, man, I really messed up by like killing all these giants. And like they go home. He's like, man, I can't believe I'm going to war with giants in the first place. That was so stupid. They're not bad dudes. And he's like, oh, so Nishandra really wanted me to do that. And I think now he's like not trusting Nishandra. And so Nishandra's like, let's go, suicide cult. Come on. And he's like, no, heck no. And he starts doing his research, and he starts researching why that might happen. And his brother also starts doing research, Aldia. And so they're both like doing their research and trying to figure out exactly what it is that is causing the undead curse, and like what they can do to stop it. And like Nishandra's right, like someone has to sacrifice themselves to kindle the first flame, to like rebirth humanity, and like to give basically people the chance to like regain their sanity and be actual humans rather than like husk zombie people. And that's where like Aldia's research kind of stops. Is like he's like, Gwyn did like a terrible thing because now we're stuck just living in this cycle, and no matter what we do, like we're screwed. It's just gonna restart and do it all over again. But Vendrick kind of took the other approach, and he's more along the lines of like, I think it might be in our best interest to just let the embers fade out and like the world end. And he's like, especially because I don't know what Nishandra wants to do, but if we prolong the Age of Fire, I mean, like, she's still going to be able to like enact whatever her plan is, and I haven't figured that out yet. So like Vendrick comes up with his own plan where he's like, okay, here's what I'll do. I will basically make it so like no one can get into the castle, right? And he like blocks all the roads, and he sets up the Shrine of Winter. And he's like, yeah, why does he set up the Shrine of Winter? Maybe it'll come back to me. Anyway, like, he sets up this perimeter so no one can get in. He positions like all of his best guards in like prime locations, and he basically like creates like a puzzle in order to access the Kiln of the First Flame. Right? He like, in order to get there, you need a giant's kinship, which like, is that just like a giant's blessing, or is that like an actual like item to, you know what I mean? Like, what is a giant's kinship? Anyway, and in order to get that, you need the King's Ring. In order to get the King's Ring, you need to go through the Shrine of Amana. And to get to the Shrine of Amana, you have to be smart. Oh, you have to be human. Well, not human. You just have to not be, because like they're singing. They're singing like quells like the darkness or something. You have to be not Nishandra, basically. You can't be a being of darkness in order to get through the Shrine of Amana. And then he steals that inside the crypt. Isn't there a guy in the crypt that gets mad at you if you like use a torch? Does that have anything to do with the lore? I remember that being important, but that might be for something different. Anyway, goes through all these motions and all these steps, right? And so basically, like, you can't get to the kiln unless you do all this stuff. And like, Vendrick's like, haha, that'll show you, Nishandra. And then he locks himself in the crypt with the ring and goes hollow because he's just living inside of a crypt. So what else is he gonna do? There's probably a reason for that too, and I'm forgetting it. Anyway, he then, well, I guess nothing happens. Nishandra's like, man, no one's able to come in, so I can't like manipulate anyone to go get me the ring. I can't get into the kiln. You know, life sucks. And so she just waits around for a little while. Okay, yeah. So this is the bonkers part. This is the part of Dark Souls 2 that literally breaks my brain. So basically, this is where your character comes in, and your character, for whatever reason, is from the future. You exist like well into the future where Drangleic is now ruins, right? And you are experiencing and suffering from the undead curse. That's why, like, at the beginning, like, you see your baby's face like melt, and like you're presumably like your wife or like your mom or someone who's holding your baby's face also melt. Like, you're forgetting who these people are, just like Hollow would. And then like you walk into this old woman's house, and she's like, hey dude, you should go jump into this whirlpool. And then you do, for some reason, and that whirlpool, for whatever reason, sends you back in time. And then you are told by, what's her name? The lady who's a dragon for some reason. The Emerald Herald, to seek powerful souls and become a true monarch and link the flame. And so for whatever reason, you're like, all right, lady, you gave me an Estus flask, so I'm going to do everything you say, even though you only gave me one. And you do, and you listen to her, and you go and you seek powerful souls, and you kill the 4 great ones. No, that's demon souls. You kill the 4 people with the primal bonfires. You light those, and then like Aldia comes and yells at you a little bit for some reason. Like, why is he in the game? I still don't know. And then you gain access to the Shrine of Winter. Then you can enter, you climb up Drangleic Castle. It's raining there for some reason. And when you get to the top of Drangleic Castle, you meet Nishandra, and she's like, hey, can you do me a favor and get this ring for me? And then also get Giant's Kinship. And then can you open the Kiln of the First Flame and link the fire so that way the world continues? And you, as a character, just have a habit to listening to whatever people tell you to do, like that guy from Bioshock. And you do it. You go ahead and you like get the ring. You go into Giant's Memories. You get the Dragon Mist Heart if you feel like it. Actually, do you have to do that? I can't remember. Anyway, you get all this stuff, and then you go to the Kill in the First Flame, and right when you try and take it, Nishandra Waltz is in there, and she's like, psych, you got the wrong number, dude. I'm actually the one who's going to take the power. Why does she want the Kill in the First Flame? Why? I don't know. She's like, I'm going to kill you and take over, I guess. I don't know. Like, what's her deal? Like, why does she want the kill? I don't know. I'm definitely going to have to Google that later. And so, for whatever reason, you guys fight. And probably because the Throne Watcher and Throne Defender were a bad final boss fight. Not that Nishandra is much better. And yeah, that's the game. You kill her, and then you can either choose to link the fire and continue the cycle, knowing full well that someone else is going to have to do exactly what you're doing right now in, like, I don't know, a couple dozen years, or you can leave and let everyone go cray-cray and suffer at the hands of basically madness and insanity. I'm trying to think if the DLC really changes that. Oh, Aldia will stop you if you try and leave, but he's a nerd, so you just beat him up. And then I guess if you do gather the 4 crowns, I remember, because I thought this was actually good writing. If you gather the 4 crowns, you become immune to the effects of hollowing. So if you complete the DLC, you become immune to the effects of hollowing. And if you leave, then technically you become like this being that is like better. Well, you become like you're basically an immortal king who will never go insane. So like you're like the smartest person in a land of idiots. Like the designated driver on Thirsty Thursday. You're the guy or the girl who is just like in charge of like everything. And that's cool, I guess, if you're into it. Aldia definitely isn't, but again, he's a nerd. And that's the story of Dark Souls 2. I think, more or less. Some pretty important things I'm forgetting here. Like, Pharaohs. Was Pharaohs really important, though? Just like, friend of the rats. Also, the rats have that huge stuff. Like, isn't there a part where the rats tell you that, like, mankind and rats were once equals, and then, for whatever reason, they separated, and rats took everything beneath the ground, and humans took everything above the ground, as if, like, that was, like, a thing. Man, what a game. Maybe the writing in the story wasn't that good. I don't know. Maybe I'm not remembering it that well. Who knows? If you like this, let me know, because it's been a while since I played a lot of games, and I can do my best to try and remember the storyline. Or you could just tell me to never do this again, because it is an affront to your favorite game of all time, Dark Souls 2, which everyone knows is the best Souls game there's ever been on the planet.